On behalf of the Asbury Park Homeowners Association, put together this event. I want to thank you for attending. I want to thank the candidates for making it. And our format will be, we'll do some introductions of the candidates. They'll each get 90 seconds to introduce themselves. Then we have 4 questions that the candidates received prior to the event. After that, there will be questions from the audience. Just remember, audience, I need to come out there with the mic. We have to do mics because we're videotaping for placing on the Asbury Park Homeowners Association website, as well as broadcasting on APTV. So again, thank you for coming. You're not interested in hearing from me. I do want to just quickly thank Cindy Rice, who's going to be our timekeeper. She has 3 signs. 30 seconds to go, candidates, 10 seconds to go, and stop. Don't mess with Cindy when it's stop. And want to thank John Caplow, who's doing our audio and video tonight and doing the editing that you'll see the videotape up there if you choose to go back and do it. So let's get started with candidate introductions. Introduce yourself, candidates, with a description of your background, experiences, and skills that you would bring to the school board. Each candidate has 90 seconds, and we're going to start on this end with Wendy.
I'm Wendy Glassman. After 35 years as counsel to a large bank and advisor to its board, I retired in 2017 and promised myself that the next chapter of my life be one of service to Asbury Park, the city I love that my family's lived in for 4 generations. To that end, I serve on several city boards and commissions, the Zoning Board, the Sunset Lake Commission. I co-chair the Mayor's Wellness Committee. I'm an advisor to and patron of several Asbury Park local arts nonprofits. I founded the Sunset Lake Park Conservancy and brought an educational program to the 3rd grade summer STEAM program. I was a volunteer track coach for the Recreation Department's middle school summer program. In being so engaged, I've learned so much more about our community and connected with it in very personal ways. I believe that my analytical, problem-solving, governance, and leadership skills and experience in strategically guiding organizations to become goal-directed and lean are what are needed to change the culture, finances, and learning shortfalls troubling our schools. Collectively, the board must be a model of leadership. It must govern and be accountable to our community and its children who are not being best served by its most important public institution. I also completed secondary ed training and did student teaching in the Baltimore Public Schools, and much later taught at Kane and through my bank. I know about education and teaching. If elected, I'll work to the best of my ability to address the problems and bring quality education to our kids so that they are literate and equipped for a future. I say it over and over, we owe our children literacy and a belief in the future. And to that, I'll assure support for our teachers and bring accountability to our schools within a rationalized budget.
Can I have the question one more time? I'm just kidding. Hi, everyone. My name is Joe Grillo. I'm a 19-year resident of Asbury Park. My background is one of public service to this city. It's one that I love. It's one that I've dedicated my life to serving the city, its people, and especially its children. I'm not just a homeowner for 18 years, but I'm also a parent with a child in the school district. My daughter, Leonora, who's actually back there, hi honey, goes to Asbury Park High School, and I'm also, my wife is here, we're expecting a child in December. So I'm dedicating about 20 years of our children going to enrolled in the school district. And it's something where I believe we need to focus more on literacy, academic achievement, and growth. On my time, I've been on the board for six years now. We've made some strides. We've expanded the Dream Academy, which is a dual enrollment college and high school graduation program, to 6th grade. Our governance score for the board itself went from 25% to 95%. But I believe that there's a lot more to do, obviously, and I'm looking forward to working with my team, Wendy Glassman and Anthony Remy, to bring a new majority onto the board that is going to right the ship fiscally and make sure that our kids are literate and academically excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Remy. First of all, just want to say thank you for having me, and thank you all for showing up, supporting, listening to what we have to say. Born and raised in Asbury Park, first generation Haitian American. So I come from a background of education. My parents came here to provide a better education for me, went through the school district, graduated from King University with a bachelor's in public administration and business management. Came back home, started a small business, one-stop shop, autos and tires on Asbury Avenue. If you get time, stop by. Yeah, and I just want to be able, I'm running for my second term re-election. Like Joe said, we got a lot of unfinished business to do, and I just want to keep being an advocate for our children. Want to see them get the same opportunities and the chance that I got when I was growing up. So that's why I'm running for another term. I just hope y'all support it. There's a lot of unfinished business that we need to do. There's a lot going on, and I feel as though this is the team to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Denise Nadell. 6 months ago, I would have never imagined I'd be in this seat. In fact, one of the reasons I'm here is because I was approached by several people to run for the Board of Education. One of them is actually sitting up here with me. I grew up in Asbury Park from the mid-'60s. My mother owned the Kingsley Deli for 22 years. We, as a family, are invested in our beautiful city. As a parent, I was a fierce advocate for my children when they were in public school. I held many positions on the PTSA, including president of both the early learning schools and the middle high school. I served on many committees with the school administrators as well as with the board. As a retail business executive, I had a very successful career until I retired several years ago to move back home. As an executive, I was responsible for tens of millions of dollars of business, profitable business. I have the ability to plan, execute, and achieve fiscal results. My skill set is to be fair, honest, collaborative, goal-driven, and have open communications and get results. But I cannot do this alone. We need a board that works together, has the same goals for our district, and can stand together in unity. I believe I am the person to help you do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Craig DePaula. In 2016, my spouse and I made Asbury Park our home. With a bachelor's degree in accounting and 30 years of work experience, I started my career as a cost accountant, transitioned into fund accounting, eventually finding myself in the realm of port logistics. I currently hold a position within the management tier of a prominent labor union. My interests extend beyond just my professional life. I am and have been committed to civic engagement. I volunteered in a program organized by the IRS as a tax preparer in underserved communities. I've dedicated my time to Habitat for Humanity, lending a helping hand in building homes in Central America. Currently, I serve on our town's parking committee. Now let's talk about why I'm running for the school board. Well, the truth is I want to be a part of reshaping our school district. The current state of affairs is simply unacceptable. Low test scores, financial struggles, and a general lack of progress have left me deeply concerned. Some may argue that this is not the time for on-the-job training, attempting to instill fear and doubt in your minds. However, I firmly believe in letting the sun shine on the issues and tackling them head on. No single person holds more importance than the collective wisdom of the entire board. I eagerly anticipate the opportunity to present and share my ideas with you this evening. Together, let's change the narrative and plan a comeback for the school district.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Will Wright. Most everybody call me Coach Will or Uncle Will because I'm the guy that they always go to when they need something. I'm from Mobile, Alabama. After spending 4 years in the military, I came back to Jersey. I got a job at the Fort Monmouth Fire Department as a fireman for 2 years. I left there and went to Air Cruisers Company on Route 34 in Wall Township as an inspector, inspecting all the slides and slide ref that goes on all the airplanes around the country. I left there and went to Jersey Central Power and Light Company, went to line school, become a lineman. I was a lineman for 15 years, and I was a line crew supervisor for 17. All during this time, I was the president of Pop 1 football for 8 years in Asbury. Also now I'm presently president of Little League Baseball. I've been associated with the Little League for the past 21 years. Also at my church, Good Hope Baptist Church, during the year, I run a clothes drive, a coat drive. We gave out 365 dinners last year for Thanksgiving. I was there on Christmas Day making sure all the kids have toys for Christmas. I am a team player, and we need to work together to get this thing done. It's been down for so long, you can't go in and lure. And if we go in and lure where we are, and then the whole city's gonna disperse. So we really need to build up the foundation, a solid foundation on the board so everybody can work together, have the same vision, working with our children, our parents, and our teachers, and our superintendent, and our downtown city hall. We need to learn to work together to get this thing done. Thank you very much. Now I'm the one that will be possible to help get this done. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, each candidate will have 3 minutes. Identify 2 major challenges facing the Asbury Park School District and present your recommendations for successfully meeting those challenges. And for this one, we'll start and go the other way. So, Will?
Well, actually, there's many challenges, and you can put either one in priority. One of them is that I feel that the safety, health, and well-being and education of our children, that's one of the primaries. And we just need to raise the funds, make a difference, help our children, work together as a team so we can build. Our kids, we will never understand our children because we don't understand the plight. Sometimes you have to walk in your children's shoes. Sometimes you have to, they come to school hungry. They don't have food to eat. They have holes in their shoes. If we're not passionate, you got to be passionate to understand what our kids are going through. And I understand that because I'm out there in the grip with them every day. I coach nonstop. I'm always thinking about what can I do to build up our children, our town. And that's what I dedicated my time to 100%. I'm making a difference. My second, I'm sorry, I got to talk so much there. The second one would be the working with the taxpayer. What I plan to do, if I am elected on the board, I plan to ask to be the chairperson of the Buildings and Grounds. And with that said, I would form a coalition, a committee from the south, north, east, and the west part of Asbury Park. Get the lawyer, get contractors, also get finance advisors, get the mayor and city and council people. We can get together so we can do something to help the taxpayer lower the bill, which will also help our children in school and get all the tools for our children. So that's one of the things that I really want to do if I'm elected on the board, have a committee that we all can work together and we can get this thing started and stop just talking about it and get it done. Thank you.
Thank you.
You'd be good at that, Coach Will. So to identify 2 major challenges, low test scores, excessive spending. Let's get into it. Low test scores. 13% are proficient in math compared to the state average of 30%. 14% are proficient in reading compared to the state average of 60%. And 1% are proficient in science compared to the state average of 30%. Not funny. Moreover, it seems like the district's approach to grading is questionable too. Two things that I find that may have artificially inflated graduation rates from 60 to 79%, which is still below the state average, is number one, they implemented a grading system known as the 64 floor. And for those of you who don't know what that means, it's a real gem of a stunt whereby a student cannot earn a grade lower than 64. To put it into perspective, a grade of 65 is considered a D, and a grade of 64 is an F. But that's the lowest grade they could get, even if they deserve a 0. So you had kids pretty much checked out until March. I hope that's done for good. I hope that's off the curriculum. The other thing is that contributes to engineering these graduation numbers is the buyback program for excessive absenteeism. There's nothing academic about sending a high school student to help out with a field day at the middle school to buy back missed class time and classwork. All right, so that was low test scores, excessive spending. Moving on to the second issue, top-heavy administrative costs. One example, the decision to eliminate vice principals and instead hire more administrative staff. Look, it's clear that there might be some redundancy and wasteful allocation of resources. Tell me why a high school of less than 400 kids needs 2 athletic directors. We need an internal audit to identify these areas of waste. Let's address the exorbitant spending on executive offices on 4th Avenue with lease costs totaling $20,000 per month. This kind of spending raises questions about whether the district is prioritizing the needs of students or simply turned into a high-paying jobs program for friends and family of high-ranking administrators. Lastly, it's disheartening to hear that teachers are discouraged from speaking out against the administration. It's a toxic environment within the school. Cut out the nonsense and start fostering an open and supportive environment where teachers feel empowered to voice their concerns and contribute to the improvement of the educational system.
So again, there are very many things we could talk about tonight, but I want to cover 2 of them. Fiscal responsibility with no results. We need an outside firm, or I would recommend an outside firm, come in to do a study on how we can spend our money better and more efficiently. This needs to be a priority. Every dollar needs to be evaluated. Sound, efficient budget with the study in mind can streamline staff to be more efficient, and we can entertain selling unused properties. We can also consolidate buildings where it makes sense. We can utilize unused spaces we have for other programs outside of the school district. We can also rent our facilities to other organizations. This is done across the country. Now, my second point is student performance. Truancy and absenteeism are a very big issue in our school district. According to the New Jersey Performance Report, 46% of our students were late for school more than 10% of the school year. The average for New Jersey is 18%. And we're over 80% of the standards on graduation rates for 4-year and 5-year graduates. This is our reality that we have to deal with. There are programs that allow students with other strengths other than academic strengths to take work-related studies and achieve credits. As we all know, college is becoming extremely expensive for most of us attending. Most of us have major debt. I can attest for that with my children. This category is on the state report, say we utilize 22% of this program in the state versus 1.5%, which means we have a strength in kids doing programs to get credits, technical credits, anything they can do other than schoolwork. This is such an opportunity for our district. We should be looking how we can expand these programs, maybe house some in our school utilized spaces. Look at the success of the culinary program. But from what I understand, no one from Asbury goes to that program. It's in our school building. We do not keep throwing our tax dollars down the tube. We need to turn the corner, and we need to start now with the right person sitting on the board to initiate the start of this change.
Some great points. I would say I will continue doing what I'm doing now. Continue advocating to the state about our budget. Continue finding ways to find other sources of revenues. Like you said, that's a great idea. That's something that I threw out there, to rent the buildings, reuse our spaces, things like that, and also make our school more marketable, make our district more marketable with just the curriculum, programs. The world is changing right now. There's a whole lot of tech, there's AI, there's things like that that we can get involved in. And there's other things, like you said, not every children is gonna go to college. They may be prepared to do something else that can benefit our whole society. And that's just things that I will continue advocating for, speaking for, working with, collabing. But it's not all just by one person. It takes everyone to understand the vision and see that where we're going. And
Hi. All right, so this is probably the most important question of the night, right? Two most important things for our kids is an expanded curriculum, I believe, that includes technical know-how, includes expanding the arts, making sure that there are proper resources for our English language learner students. We have some of our schools have more than 50% Spanish-speaking or English language learning students. And also make sure that our teachers have the proper resources and the proper training so they could do their job as best as possible. Because my daughter doesn't know who the superintendent is. My daughter doesn't know who the school board is, besides me probably. But she knows who her teachers are, and she, and that's something that's super important. Those are the folks that are on the front lines with our kids. Now, that's one. The other is obviously continue to right-size the district both fiscally and operationally. And one thing that I think all of us here agree on is to perform an operational audit to identify and eliminate continued waste in the school district. It's something that Mr. Remy and I, being on the board, being incumbents, have advocated for. We just haven't had the votes to do it. There is a problem with that too, because who's going to pay for the independent auditor to come in? Because that costs a lot of money, sometimes in the hundreds of thousands. So we need to be creative in how that gets done. The other thing is I want to remind folks that yes, there have been times when the recommendations have called for additional bureaucracy, and guess what? Mr. Remy and I voted no on multiple administrative hires, and in some cases we had the votes and we were able to defeat those measures. I also voted no on the last 3 budgets because I believed it was an undue burden on the taxpayers, me being a taxpayer myself, and knowing that we need to advocate more for ourselves in Trenton and make sure that we work with our legislators. The last budget, it was about to be a $12 million tax hike on the city of Asbury Park. I voted no on that one. And the reason why I voted no is because I knew that Senator Vingo Powell was speaking with the governor's office, trying to get money, extraordinary aid, back to Asbury Park that night. And guess what? In doing that kind of collaboration, we did get some money back. It wasn't, still a lot, but I'm not going to sneeze at $5.6 million coming back to shore up our budget. So fiscal responsibility and expanding curriculum for the good of our kids. Those are my 2 big priorities.
Thank you. Literacy and accountability are our biggest challenges. Our kids can't read, and it breaks my heart. Without basic literacy, our kids have no future. Thus far, the administration has not taken responsibility for this calamity. Accountability is the biggest problem we face at every level. Being accountable for policies, budget, spending, planning, teaching, and learning. The board must be fully accountable to its shareholders, to its stockholders, voters, teachers, parents who entrust their kids to us. The board must set policy and the tone for the district, identify priorities, develop a multi-year strategic plan to implement these goals. The board must be accountable for the district reaching milestones and explaining when we don't reach those milestones and how are we going to do it. We need to hold ourselves to our highest standards and demand that of others. We need to be respectful. We need to give our kids the best public education. Our budget must be laser focused on the goal of education. If the money doesn't go to educating the kids, don't spend it. It's where we need to eliminate buildings that don't fully house classrooms. We can support the community by selling properties to someone who commits to bring affordable housing to keep in the city the families and the artists and creatives who make our community diverse and special. That's why we need to eliminate layers of administration and focus our resources on teachers and the resources that they need to teach. We have great teachers. We owe them support for doing the superhuman jobs they do. We owe them policies that allow them to hold students accountable. Teachers need to give their best to the students. I believe most do. We need to demand respect by students and administrators for the teachers and by teachers for students and their families. We can't tolerate profanity, violence, absenteeism. We can't allow graduation rates to rise with kids who can't read, write, or do basic math. We can't support policies that force them to pass students who don't show up. We can't have an administration that allows students to pass by serving detention. We can't graduate kids who can't pass basic reading and math tests. We can't eliminate days for language arts and math when scores are the lowest in the state. We need to support proven methods for teaching reading. We must require the superintendent to reflect these policies in his practices and the programs that he or she implements. The superintendent is accountable to the board, and his or her performance must be judged on how students learn. The monitor can't let the superintendent disregard the board or the monitor's role is to enforce fiscal prudence, guide the board's fiscal planning and budgets, and needs to be the backstop for this community. The monitor needs to demand principled spending that leads to better education for our kids and demonstrable results. Parents want to see their kids learn and grow. We need to include them and hold them accountable for their role and for the actions of their kids. We need to encourage parents to show up and give them the tools and resources to do that.
Next question, 1 minute response from each candidate. How will you increase community involvement with the Asbury Park School District, and what types of community support for the district do you envision? And why don't we start in the middle maybe? Remy, you want to go, and we'll go this way. And then.
So with community involvement,
Community involvement, how would you increase it, and what do you envision community support looking like?
building more transparency, having more meetings than just the one monthly meeting that we have, having even if it could be a forum or just we can converse back and forth and bounce ideas around. If someone in the audience has a program that they know that can help assist, we get our children out there to support, to attend. Just more like family. Treat this more like family. We're all on the same. We're all neighbors, and these are all our children. Let's treat them like all like our family. I say that's the vision that I want to see. You go to other towns, it's so much love, it's so much spirit, but it's like a disconnect with us, and it's from the top down. So I would hold administrators accountable to go out, be out in the community, support. If you have a program, if you have an event, go out, support. Meet the ones that you're sending your children to. Meet them.
Hi. So when it comes to community involvement, I mean, that's how I got my start, helping the people of Asbury Park, both politically, but then also, doing things like creating Asbury Park Dinner Table, which was an organization that was started during the pandemic, when we saw that food insecurity was a big issue. In 2 years' time, we served about 350,000 meals to families experiencing food insecurity, and we were able to provide over $700,000 in cash flow to local businesses. It's that kind of can-do attitude that I think we need to do in terms of harnessing all the talent that our community has, whether it's looking at local artists, local gallery owners to come and teach to kids, to make sure that when we're talking about career and trade readiness programs, that we connect with the local labor unions as well to make sure that they help our kids. So there's a lot of different ways. Thank you.
So the community's every one of us, whether we have kids in the schools or not, and how we support our schools is a reflection of the value this community places on education. Everyone needs to be invited to invest. Many people said that they'd love to come and share their years of experience and their skills for kids to show them what's possible, different fields, different jobs. We need to welcome the community into the schools and onto the grounds through classes and activities, both for adults and kids. We need to create opportunities for involvement by making information easily accessible. For example, make the website less confusing, identify the right social media outlets or paper publications or corner stores to reach families and members of the community. Make the physical space of board meetings more inviting. The format of meetings shouldn't be broken up by an executive session. It should precede the public meeting. Printed material needs to be available, including the backup material. Provide translation services at board and other meetings to make people feel welcome to contribute. The district needs to be responsive and transparent and hold town hall meetings for people to make contribution and to do it in a meeting where the administration and the district can respond to the community.
Thank you. Denise.
I really love this because I feel it's very, very important. I envision our students being mentored by Asbury Park business owners, either for maybe a credit for school or a stipend for their work. We have a big summer surge of jobs available. This is the perfect opportunity to keep our students busy and working all summer. Many jobs are part-time and will not require them to be gone all day. Let's make this a priority. All this new money is coming into our city with developers. Some should be used for our students to have work programs. We can put them in camps jobs, beachfront jobs, senior centers. We have plenty of nonprofits they can go volunteer for, just to name a few. And then this may be a little hokey, but parents need to be involved and volunteer at the school, whether it's selling food, working with fundraising, or helping with planning events. I don't think we even have a PTA in the school district. Again, hokey, but maybe we start a small one to get parents involved. There's so much they can do.
Well, community involvement can also include rethinking how to use our assets. I'm thinking we can use the school property after hours to enhance education. Imagine if kids had the opportunity to attend a world-class SAT prep for free. What if we explore the possibility of partnering up with the best of the best to provide it to our kids? The best ones like Princeton Review are expensive. Khan Academy is free and it's excellent, but just like Princeton, it's online instruction and requires a very quiet and conducive home environment. So we set up shop and provide a quiet, supportive, scholastic, but relaxed environment, snacks, study tools, connectivity. I think kids would take advantage of it, but it has to be thought through. Let's be honest, a lot of our programs are hobbled together with good intentions, but haphazardly organized and then canceled, or they're just not done well. Kids notice these things and it affects them. Theme here is that we have to start being the adults in the room.
One of the things I do with my Little League, getting the parents involved, bringing them out to the field, and buy them T-shirts, make them feel a part of the game. And what's so important, when the kids see his mom, his father there at a game. I had a meeting with all the parents, to ask them the question, what can we do as coaches that'll be better for your children? What do you think that we can do to expand their knowledge? They would sit and tell us, and we would write these things down, and we use them in our Little League. And that's why we have been successful, thanks to the good Lord, today, that we're aware at the point where we are right now. We're the only team, only Little League around that doesn't pay any registration fee. After I took over president 6 years ago, I decided that we were losing children because parents couldn't afford it. So we decided to make the registration free. And thanks to all of you who donates towards our Little League, we don't pay a dime. And everything that we do so far, we take them, last year we got them to Washington, D.C. We got them to the Yankees game. We had a beautiful big banquet at my church for the kids. And we definitely need to get the parents involved, and that's one thing that I really care about, teamwork. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
The final prepared question, and then we're going to be going to the audience. So please be formulating some questions. We're going to be able to take some questions from the audience. Final one for 1-minute responses. If elected, you would be one of 9 school board members in a district that has a state monitor who can overrule many board decisions. How will you be an effective board member regarding the positions you're presenting today? And for this one, I think Denise will start with you and go down to Will.
So I'll start by saying we've had a state monitor for how many years now, and nothing has happened to improve it. So that's number one. The state monitor should be fiscally responsible to the state and the school district. He should be an asset and guide us to the board. If he feels the need to overturn a decision, he needs to be clear on why and work with the board to achieve what is best for the students' success. If we cannot work together for one goal, and that goal is to improve our schools for the students to succeed and graduate, if we do not do that, then we're not only failing our students, but also everyone in the community. Everyone should have a sense of ownership and confidence in the decision the board monitor makes.
Well, the goal should be for us to get our finances in order so that a state monitor is no longer required. But if we talk about the fiasco at the board meeting last week, when one board member unilaterally decided to motion for the sale of the maintenance building on 2nd Avenue without permissions, without consulting the rest of the board, fortunately, the state monitor stepped in and addressed the situation, ultimately overruling the motion. So in that instance, the monitor actually played a crucial role. But to answer the question, I guess I can imagine how I'd be effective if, say, all board members decided the budget is excessive. I'd point to the fact that we can just choose not to adopt it. And I think doing that would send a strong message. Granted, decision can be overruled, but it would at least serve as a powerful expression of the board's concerns.
I would think that to work with if the board worked along with the state monitor making these decisions, we can get them done rapidly, expedite them. It's a waste of time to make the different procedures and for them to come and turn them over. I think that someone should contact them. What do you think about this idea? This way you're working together and you're saving time and you can get things done accordingly.
I recognize and encourage the authority of the duty of the board to be vocal, to set the tone, ask tough questions, and assure timely implementation of the board-sanctioned programs. Again, we're talking about accountability. A situation like last year when the monitor overrode the board's rejection of the budget should not have happened. The administration didn't submit the budget with sufficient time for board review and revision, and maybe if the monitor had pressed the administration, she wouldn't have felt compelled to override the board to meet a state deadline. The monitor should have been an ally with the board and pressured the administration early for a budget. I've described my experience to address these structural issues and work collaboratively with other board members who want a quality education for our kids at a rational cost and to be transparent and focused on this mission. I pledge to build on a coalition within our board and insist that the monitor and superintendent are responsive to us, the elected representatives of this community. The new monitor publicly stated in his first remarks in September that he intends to address fiscal responsibility and in advance the education of our students. The board has to hold him to this. With this, I believe we can better reach our goals for the district.
Thank you all. Oh, we got 2 more.
Dominic wants to move on real quick. So state fiscal monitor has been in the district for about 20 years. I did make a motion the last meeting to begin the sale of the maintenance building on 2nd Avenue. It was not unilateral. I had 4 other votes that agreed with me. And what did that do? Made the monitor say, well, if you did this, I would override it. Okay, great. So tell me what steps we need to take in order for you not to override it. And he explained the steps. And now we have a meeting with the state monitor to collaborate with the state monitor in order to take the initial steps in order to finally sell the maintenance building on 2nd Avenue. And look, another thing about selling the buildings, I know we all think it's this great idea that, is gonna be put a for sale sign up and it's done. It doesn't work that way, mostly because of the state monitor. And also remember that board members themselves are not representatives of Asbury Park per se. They're technically agents of the state. So everything that we do goes through the state. We've increased our governance score from 25 when I first started to 95. That's the first step in order to get rid of the state monitor, period.
I would say us as board members need to continue to work together, to collab, to learn from the state monitor so we can know what to do, how to move forward properly, just how to move as one accord. Like when situations happen, whether we feel as though it's the right thing, they do overturn it. And it is messed up, but at the same time, we need to continue to work together, stay together, and learn, and show that we can move together as a board, that we can make decisions, and that's the best way.
Now I'm going to thank all candidates. Sorry about that, guys. The only thing pre-planned on the agenda, every candidate will get 1 minute for a closing statement. But at this point, we can open it up to audience questions. Just remember, wait for me with the mic, because the mic has to pick up the sound for the videotape. Every candidate will get 1 minute
to answer after. Okay. Hi, my name is Sheila Etienne, and I was on the board, and more than, I think just me and Dominic are sitting here and like put me in coach, because some of these questions, they're very difficult to answer. From the outside, it looks one way, and then from the inside, it's just a very difficult thing. There are a lot of fantastic ideas that came up. For one, renting the buildings as opposed to selling them. Because if we believe that the school district will come back, we now no longer have buildings after we sold them. Although the 2nd Avenue building, it's just a shell, right? Oh, I have 30 seconds. Okay, so you guys answered the question about kind of dealing with the state monitor, which is, again, is not as easy. We held our state, we riced our state monitor because she was not doing what we wanted her to do. What soft skills, especially the 4 people that are not currently on the board, do you believe that you bring to the table that will help you navigate the other 8 people that you're on the board with?
Thank you. And I think we're back now to Wendy to start. Oh, okay. Well, up to them if they want to discuss their soft skills. Wendy, you want to discuss your soft skills?
I'm sure I know what soft skills are.
How would you define what you're asking for, Sheila?
Are you talking about collaboration? Are you talking about empathy?
Your people navigating skills. Like, how do you get your point across without being abrasive and make people understand and want to work with you?
1 minute.
It's by listening and by communicating together. And through the sharing of ideas, hopefully as a group, we come out with a better result than what each person brings to the table individually. That's the first thing. The second thing is understanding and seeing what the essence of a question or a problem is. Trying to convince someone else of a position is also another soft skill that's important in coming to the decision that works for the board, for the district, for the kids.
Do you guys want to discuss here?
Go for it.
So in my business career, I managed from 5 people to upwards of 30 or 40 people, depending on the title I had at the time. What I want to tell you is every person has different strengths and different ways of sharing them. You have to be very sensitive to that, because even though someone is not the strongest or loudest in the room, they can have a lot to contribute, and you have to be really aware of a personality and listen. Listening is the #1 skill. If you can't listen, nothing can be accomplished.
I have a career in accounting, so I'm sort of more back office operations, but I've also had a career in real estate in New York City for well over a decade. And you can't be abrasive and still close deals. You know, you have to capitalize on what Denise says, active listening. Listening equals leadership. So less talking, more listening. I know I come off heated, spicy, a little strong, but I also know my place on a debate. I'm sorry, on a board. So, that's pretty much it.
I personally think that in order to get anything done, whether it's home, play, at work, church, or wherever, you must have respect for yourself first. Then you should. That's the only way you can expect to receive respect. So anything you do, even a good idea you might think you have, then you got to address it with someone else. You might think you have a great idea. Every great idea is not a good idea. And you may have a good idea, it could be a great idea. So you got to work together. It's not, I may have an idea about what I just said, but I'll put it on the board so everybody can shoot at it, and then we can make a decision on it. But that's the only way you can get things done, working together as a team.
I thought you said before.
Well, up to the 2 incumbents, if you want to talk about your approach. Sheila asked the other 4, but.
Yeah, like how everyone said, just listening, understanding, being reasonable as well. Not just being rational, learning to understand their perspective on where they're coming from, and then come to a common ground and be able to work as a team. I guess that's my soft skills.
Well, I live by a motto that some folks here know, because I try as best as I can to try to bring people together instead of dividing them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We're all human, and we try to do the best we can for the good of the community. But everyone is worth 15 minutes and a cup of coffee. I've always said that, and it's always served me well in terms of listening to folks in town. I knock on doors not just when I'm running for office, but just to talk to folks, to let them know what's going on the board. And I think Mr. Remy and I are the only ones that actually did a couple of meet the board members experiences or coffee clutches like the council does. Almost got in trouble for it too. But those are all examples of sitting down with people, listening to their ideas, and try to incorporate them as best as possible. And I'm glad that everybody up here also agrees that listening is so important.
Okay, thank you.
I have to sit down. Okay, here? Hi, I'm Rita Morano, and I'd like to ask Since we lost all the Abbott money, or most of it, our taxes have skyrocketed. Mine have gone up $1,400 a quarter. How much longer are we going to wait before we see results? The school budget is now 48% of our tax dollars. Next year, it's going to 50%. That means it's going up again. What's your plan for making it better to lower our taxes? You haven't done so. The monitor was getting paid $350 a day. I don't know who makes that salary scale, but I guess that's it. I'd like to know what you're going to do to reduce our taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to start. We'll start with what.
One of the things I really think that which everybody here has spoke on tonight in reference to selling off the properties that are not being used. And I think that would really be beneficial to the taxpayers in this town. But we need to expedite it. We just can't continually talk about it. That's why I said before, if I'm in charge of buildings and ground, if I get on the board, I will form a committee with people in the city, with the lawyer, with the financial advisor, whoever else, that we can get this thing started. We need to get started. We need to plan it now and get ready to rock and roll in 2024 and stop talking about it and get to work.
So it goes back to the two things I keep bringing up, the internal audit and the excessive spending. The internal audit would show where the waste is. The excess spending is becoming a problem. And, you know, we talk about selling off properties, sure, but we would need to know what that would net the city from that deal. Even if we sold off the properties, we don't know what we would keep net of that. We do know at least we would lose the carrying costs. For instance, if we sold the Obama property, we would no longer have to carry have the carrying costs. But another thing we're missing is about $2 or $3 million in lost funding because the board isn't applying for funding properly. I would want to address that right away.
This is a tough one because already the taxes are slated for next year to go up. So everyone here know that. Your tax bill will be going up again. Based on that, I really think, and I'm going to agree with you, we need that monitor or we need that outside source to come in and look at everything. Once we have a handle on what is right and what is wrong, we can start eliminating the excess. But until no one has any idea what that is, which is quite scary. So that is my suggestion, get that person in there. Thank you.
Continue advocating to the city. We all see the city that we're in. We see that there's a lot of money coming in here, and we're the ones suffering. Getting money from the state as well, and finding ways to increase enrollment. As long as we increase enrollment, it'll be more bodies in the district, more students in the district, and it'll cut down the taxes. And just continue doing what I'm doing.
So actually, Mr. Remy is right in that there's only one silver bullet, Rita, and that's to increase enrollment. But that takes a very, very long time. Our enrollment has gone down, and it's plateaued, and hopefully that will, we'll be able to work on that by promoting our successes. Really, you increase enrollment and you lower taxes. It's that simple because you get more state aid. But I would want to say that I agree with Craig, Spicy Craig, that it is a one-shot deal with the selling of the properties. It's 1 year, one-shot deal. It gives us a little more time to advocate to Trenton, to work with our legislators, to get more money back. It's not impossible to do because we did it this year. We got $5.6 million back. I always thought that S2, the program that actually, is responsible for this tax increase that's forced upon us, needed to be extended out more than 5 years. It should have been 10 years. So we all need, you're mad about your taxes, so am I. We need to go to Trenton and advocate for our money and bring our money back to Asbury Park.
So whether taxes go up or down is a consequence, again, of how we manage our district. And it goes back to strategic planning. What are our goals and what do we need to spend to achieve them? And carrying buildings that do not house classrooms, carrying property that requires maintenance is not a way for us to spend money. At the end of the day, that ends up being money that comes out of your pockets. So again, I go back to this notion of strategic planning, selling the properties that we've got. The administration building does not need to house our administration. That's $250,000 a year. Maybe it's a small amount, but it's something. You take away those 3 properties, put them into the schools that are active, reduce our administrative expenses by the number of administrators that we have in this building, focus it on teaching, and we can right-size this district. I do not think that we are going to have an enormous increase in students over the next 20 years. I don't think we need that building. But we do need to right-size this district and think about what we're spending and where we're going.
Okay, just a few more.
So I have the exact opposite question that you do. I would like to address my question to the school board members. So the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. So since one of you has been there, our test results have gone down, and at one point the Asbury Park Press reported that we were the lowest in New Jersey, below Camden, okay? So our enrollment has been down since you've been there. I've seen, you wanted me to take a look at meeting minutes. I've seen you approve $160,000 sports people. I've seen you approve $150,000 for HR people. And yet you still went ahead for a proposal to spend $3 million instead of on our kids. We are failing our kids, okay? You wanted to spend $3 million revamping the Obama school. For whom? Not for our kids. The original proposal was for the administration. Put the administration in empty classrooms, stop spending money on them, and start spending money on our kids. I'm asking, why are you running for re-election? Why not let somebody else get in?
Well, again, to the extent there's questions in there, everybody gets a 1-minute opportunity.
Sure. So
We'll start with the incumbents, and if anyone
Yeah,
else
sure.
wants to respond.
So, if you looked at the minutes, I actually voted against the HR person, and I also voted against. I did, and also, hold on, and then I also, in terms of the building, I've been advocating to sell the Obama school against. I'm sorry.
You voted for it.
We could.
It's in the meeting minutes. You asked me to take a look at the meeting minutes. So
Okay.
I'm saying something's not true.
So I'm the chair of Buildings and Grounds, and for the past 6 months, we've been talking about.
Oh, okay, Jordan, he gets a minute.
We've been talking about selling the empty buildings. The last meeting, I'd had enough because there was enough talk and we needed to do it. And now we have some direction in terms of the steps we need to take to sell those empty buildings. The first one, which is the easiest lift, which most of the board agreed with, was the maintenance building, which, like Sheila said, and Sheila knows, was an empty shell. The next is to look at the Obama school property and to see what could be done there, and also the parent center. And you're right, because to me, I think the administrative offices, look, they're looking to go another 2 years on those leases over there. And I'm saying, look, if we need to put them in trailers are fine for admins. But honestly, the 3rd floor of the high school would be the best place for that, for the administrative offices.
I wasn't at the last board meeting, but the one before that, I did say, like, I understand your frustration. I did mention for the administrative office, why can't they move to the high school? But, you know, yeah. Like, I understand your frustration. I was on the same passion that you have. I was on the other side, so I get it. But it is a lot that goes along with it. But we're gonna keep striving. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure out how to save money and get more money, and provide a better education, world-class education for our students, for our children, so they can be able to compete on a global level, so they can be able to come back and do the same for the next generation after them, be able to help them overseas or a different state, whatever. But we're gonna figure it out.
Any non-incumbents, you'd have a minute if you'd like to respond. You don't have to.
Right. I think that I've been pretty clear. I do not support the layering of administrators, vice principals, multiple coaches, and I certainly think that the plan has to be put in place to sell the two buildings and properties that we own and eliminate the one leased premises. We need to consolidate. We need to use that money to bring back the music teachers, the art teachers that this school has terminated over the past few years, that our kids sorely need, because that is the other way that our kids become literate, is through music and art.
Anyone else?
I just have a question in reference to, does anyone know how much money is being lost in the maintenance of these buildings not being used? Imagine them sitting there for 5 years and we maintaining the maintenance. How much money is being lost during that time?
I think this school district is a lot like General Motors. And stay with me here. You know, they lose. It costs them a lot in legacy costs. They have pensions. They have health care for decades past, sometimes if not centuries past. And after they sell cars, they have no money towards research and design, R&D. So they're compounding bad decisions on top of bad decisions. In this situation, this school district is a lot like this. We need to get aggressive, you know, but to avoid situations like this, I think it's time we open the conversation to the public so it doesn't blow up. I think, you know, like Joe was saying, coffee with a council person, coffee with a cop. Let's do breakfast with board members. Let's do bagels with a board member. Let's open it up. Let's be able to voice our concerns so that it doesn't aggravate people.
Well, I can't answer because I'm not inside the board right now, but what I could tell you is one of the reasons I ran was because of this. We can't figure anything out from the outside looking in. And there's something wrong with that. We need to know, like you all said, communication. You sit in those board meetings, you cannot get an answer at that board meeting. You're allowed to speak, and no one responds to you. What kind of a meeting is that for the public? It doesn't make any sense. So open communications are key, and it'll be a much better place.
Thank you. Okay, we've got a question over here. I saw a hand. I need you to be the last one.
Hi, my name is David Schreier. I've been in Asbury for about 3 years, and you know, the situation with the school test scores and just everything has just shocked us. So my question to the incumbents is, can you, instead of talking about the budget, instead of talking about Trenton, et cetera, or the administration, can you address your own personal, you know, wishes, what you would have done differently the past 3 years that would have, or 2 years, I don't care, that would have improved things personally? Thank you.
Wow, that's a really good question. This is to the incumbents?
And then other candidates will
Sure,
have.
sure. I think that I wish I would have known what I was stepping into when I first decided to run and when I first started serving on the board. A few of us said, and like Sheila said, it's one thing when you're outside, and you come up with these different ideas. I appreciate what Craig said about General Motors. The only difference is that General Motors, if they want to, can declare bankruptcy. A school district can't. But I understand where he's coming from with it. When you get on that board, you realize not just what you can do, but what you can't do. It's frustrating for us being on the board that we can't answer. It's not like city council, but for school. We are mandated by certain ethical laws by the state of New Jersey that preclude us from doing things like answering. It's not, like they say, it's not public discussion, it's public comment. That being said, I think we could do a better job in terms of letting people know that they're being heard and they're being said. And if I become board president, hopefully if I get elected, that would be something that would be a mission for me. So thank you for that question. That was a
Thank
great
you.
question.
I would say staying aggressive. That fire that you guys have right now, your first, like as soon as you get in there, you start to learn, and then you hear about ethics charges and things like that, and they try to scare you to vote a certain way. I would have just stayed strategic, kept that fire up under me, just continue fighting. Because once you get in there, the first year I was a little quiet, just trying to understand and try to learn how people maneuver and how they vote, just filling them out. But I should have just said, forget that, stick to what I wanted from RIP, and just stick with it. But now this go round, it's up, it's over. It's over. It's over. I already got the fire, I'm back, it's over.
Okay, if there's non-incumbents who'd just like to make a comment, you've
Well,
got.
it's hard for me to make a comment on that issue, but what I do want to say is, with my experience with other boards that I have been involved with, there was a lot of interactive things going on between the parents and the board. We had committees for everything, and it was parents, business owners, it was the community, it was grandparents, whoever wanted to be involved. That's not happening here, and it really needs to be. We need to invest our personal best to get results.
So not being on the board, I'm not in the hot seat. So what I'm hearing is that you're asking for a wish list. Well, I would say build out a business model much like Monmouth County Vocational, MCVSD. I love MCVSD. I love what they stand for. They have adult education. They have mechanical engineering offered. They have apprenticeships. They have marine trades. I mean, we have the ocean in our front yard, and Asbury Park High School is doing nothing with it. My disappointments are with the way Asbury Park approaches things. So the Dream Academy, great idea on paper, but I understand that they lost their affiliation with Brookdale Community College. That was the cornerstone of the program. They lost their law program. Everything they try fails. So my wish list is, let's model after MCVSD. Yeah, answer it. Go ahead. I'm okay with it.
Is that okay?
I mean,
Let's get
I said
through
I'm
the
not on the
one.
hot
Let's
seat,
get through
so-
the 1-minute comments.
Sure.
I think anything that, in order to finish anything, you got to start it. And I think one of the most important things, again, is about working as a team, being honest, being truthful about it, communicating with your people that you're working along with. That is so important to get things done. And I think whatever it is, if you work together, be honest about it, don't have any other political innuendos or agendas, and you can get things done. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, you got 10
if
seconds
if
while I
it's o-
get the next question.
If it's okay.
Go ahead.
No, in terms of a quick rebuttal on.
10 seconds. Go ahead.
If you want to
So-
correct me, I'm not on the board, so if
No,
it's
no.
gonna,
Yeah, I just wanted to.
I would love to get into the weeds and
Yes.
understand everything about the board.
It's more for the publics, just so they know. So Dream Academy, we expanded it from high school to sixth grade, and then also we didn't lose the Brookdale connection. What happened was the four-year colleges said we can't have so many high school kids getting college credit because then it ruins their college experience, so to say. So it came from the top down, not from the bottom up. The whole thing. Dream Academy, my daughter's in Dream Academy, and if you'd like to know the curriculum, I know I ran out of time, but I could recite
Okay.
her entire
Okay.
curriculum of that.
All right,
So-
thank you. Next question. We've only got time for a few more.
Hi, my name is John Scully. My question is probably geared more to the incumbents, but certainly open up to everybody. Using the 2021-22 school year, the average cost per student in New Jersey was a little over $18,200. In Asbury Park, it was $38,000, almost $20,000 more. Yep. One of you had been on the board for 6 years, the other one for 3. Other than not voting for the last budget, what have you specifically done to lower that cost?
So thank you for that. So partly because of S2 and partly because of we cut $20 million from the budget. I'm sorry? Oh, okay. So that number was $43,000 per student. As a matter of fact, that was when Remy last ran, when Mr. Remy ran, it was about $43,000. The cost this year is $27,888. Now, a lot of that is not the impact on the taxpayer. Remember that we are extremely grant funded. When you see a big budget that's like $80 million, a lot of those costs are paid for by grants and government grants and organizational grants. If you cut all that out of the way, it's actually closer to $24,000 per student. Still not good enough, and I agree, it needs to be lower. And as S2 keeps cutting us, the cost per student will also continue to go down.
Thank you. Anyone else? Or we're going to go to the next question. Just time for a couple more.
Taxpayer or not, that amount is high. That amount is insane. We could afford to send our kids to the best private school with $38,000 per kid in an Uber every day and a lunch program. So you're right, it's high. We are wasting time. We're focusing on the wrong things, in my opinion, at that school. They were issued a questionnaire asking what would they like to see in the program, to see in the high school, and they answered. They come to cosmetology. In a world where we are reading about AI every day, e-commerce, philanthropy, we're talking about fax machine technology in a digital AI world. It needs to stop.
Okay, we're going to go to the next question.
Hello, Felicia Simmons, and thank you all for running and doing this job. It is thankless and it is hard, so thank you. Second, I'm trying not to preach, I'm a corrector, but the question is, we're speaking a lot about money, but if I honestly say, probably I did it once years ago, what trickles down to the classroom is probably about $100 or less. when we speak about the 43, the 38, none of that goes to the children or the classrooms of the building, because the school looks the same as 20 years ago when I was in it. Here's the question. 2 parts. If we sell off the property as a one-shot hit, we can make it where it's beneficial to the community. I'm a fan of keeping it. I'm a fan of making it productive for the future, right? Green energy is huge. Bless you. Green energy is huge. We can convert it and do something instead of making somebody one time a millionaire. And second, the vocational schools are ours, and how can we more utilize them?
Okay, Wendy, why don't we start down at that end?
But before you start that timer, could you just repeat the very, very last part of your question?
The last part of the question was vocational school that you spoke of are ours. They're actually the community. We pay to send our kids to the Mountain County
Right.
vocational, but none of our kids actually go. They're not being utilized. How can the school district as a board utilize more of the vocational school to give the training that we need back home in Asbury Park?
I mean, I think that the answer to that is to promote it, and if, number one, and if there are entrance standards that kids have to meet to help them reach that. I'm sorry, and the first part of your question was? Okay, and, right, and, okay. Okay, and I think that I've made my position really clear about this. I don't think that it is the school district's job to make buildings productive. I think it is the school district's job to educate kids. And I would rather be spending that money on teachers and art programs and musical instruments and bands and all of those things that help kids learn and give kids the idea that they've got a future. And so that's literacy, learning to read, being able to escape into other worlds and learn about the possibilities for other things. I don't think we need to hold on to these buildings. Let somebody else make them into something productive.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was for everybody.
Yes. Yes, it
Oh,
is.
okay. So yeah, I mean, to follow up on what Wendy said, I mean, this is why I love running with Wendy and with Mr. Remy, because we all feel just as passionately about expanding the arts program. A few years ago, our arts teachers were cut tremendously. Arts, meaning music and art. I was the sole no vote on that. And I was so happy when this year we enacted a full arts programming that's super important in terms of, and you're talking about vocal lessons, rock history, jazz history, multimedia art, ceramics and sculpting, painting and drawing. I know these because my daughter takes these classes. So what our job now is, what Wendy said, is to expand that, to include band, to include theater, and to make sure that our high school finally has its first musical in a decade, because it hasn't had one. And we have to do this at a reasonable price as well. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I agree with all the points they said. And when I was growing up, I was part of the band. You know, it was a lot of spirit, man. You go to the football games, you go to any game, it was a lot of spirit. It was fun, and it helps shapes you. It builds character, and I'm with it 100%. And vocational as well. You get to learn skills, life lessons, like real life-saving skills. Trying to bring all that back. And there's a lot of talent. There's a lot of talented and gifted children in our community. We're just trying to be able to promote that for them and give them the resources and experience so they can out here and show the rest of the world that they're blessed and gifted.
Thank you. Anyone else? Or
What I want to say is that the whole vocational end of it is so important for a lot of different reasons. There are kids who want to go to college but can't afford it, but can take an automotive class which that can teach them skills to be in their next career. You have to make it available to them. There's no reason why, if we're supporting the Monmouth County vocational system, that our children are not there every day. That is just a shame.
Thank you.
Again, open up the conversation to the public. Host that coffee with a board member, breakfast with a board member monthly, so that people such as Ms. Simmons can come and share their concerns. I would support retrofitting any building we own to serve the community, but only if it makes sense. You know, as an elected position, you are a fiduciary, and your primary duty is to ensure that the allocated resources are used effectively and efficiently to promote the educational well-being of the students. You have to act in the best interests of the students, parents, and the community who rely on the school system. You need trust and you need accountability for an effective operational system.
In reference to Mrs. Simmons' question, I think personally that a lot of research needs to go into that question, and I really can't have an answer at this time because listen to all the members here, you know, voice their opinion. I would like to be a little bit more precise before I answer that question. Thank you.
Okay, we're running out of time, but I promised 3 more people, so perhaps candidates, if you don't want to add to these particular questions, that would help so we can get to the closing. Otherwise, I've lied and we're going to go over a little bit, and I hate to do that.
Hi, good evening. I'm Polly Shilga. I really appreciate all of you being here, and I can feel the passion that you have for the kids. A word that keeps coming up is community. And I'd like to just stress that a healthy school district equals a healthy community. I think you all know that and would agree with that. And a healthy district has kids in the schools and involved parents. We've also all agreed on that, I think. One way to build enrollment is to create a welcoming school environment. And studies have found that kids have a healthier relationship with school and even do better academically when they can spend recreational time on school playgrounds, socializing, and playing on equipment outside of school hours. Chains and locks and no trespassing signs send a terrible message to the community. Do you intend to open all school playgrounds in all neighborhoods for access to kids and their families without caveats? And if so, when?
The simple answer to your question, Polly, is yes. 5 years ago, I went in front of the board at a public town meeting and asked them to open the athletic fields and the outdoor school facilities for the kids and for the community, not just for the kids. Everyone should be able to use these facilities for physical activity, for communication, for talking to one another, and just being outdoors. I think it's to everyone's benefit. There is no reason whatsoever in this community that all of these grounds are not open. I don't believe that there is a safety issue that would keep that from happening. Different communities either open the fields completely. They have key cards for residents. There are lots of ways to do it really easily. For 5 years, I have not gotten an answer to that.
Yeah, same. I mean, we've been advocating for it since, probably just before COVID, and we haven't had a majority on the board that has agreed with us. Hopefully, with this election, we'll have that majority, and we'll open up the playgrounds. I was one of the first things that I did community-wise was to work with the Boys and Girls Club to create a nature in your backyard program for some of the kids in our district. These are kids that think that the beach is not theirs. They say it's white people's beach. It's not ours. And I couldn't believe that when I first heard it. So through that program, we were able to show kids the wildlife in their own backyard. We took them to parks, took them to the beach, and they claimed ownership of something that's theirs and their parents. And to me, it's something that we need to do. I'm passionate about it, and hopefully with this majority, we'll open up the baseball fields, the playgrounds, and the soccer fields for every child to enjoy, no matter what they look like. And the track too.
That was one of the first things I ran with during my first term, is to open up the playgrounds. I grew up on the playgrounds. I grew up playing on Thurgood Marshall playground. The basketball courts behind the high school was open when I was growing up. And then that also, they had programs as well. Like we had biddy basketball. And then that gave members of the community who coach to be able to be a biddy basketball coach, teach young children how characters, how to just be able to succeed in this world. I'm telling you, it was so much going on when I was growing up, so much resources, so much opportunities. We had so much impact for people in our community that was coming out. And we did the come out and have coffee with us and have lunch with us so we can hear what the community has to say. But not everyone shows up. This thing is flooded right now, but it's like 3 people that show up. So we need to build that transparency. We need more community involvement. Come out for this, come out, even if I'm not on the board next term, come out for them, come out. You got something to say it. And then maybe you can get some dialogue back. All right, I'm done.
I agree with Polly. The ecosystem is unhealthy. I support anything that is extracurricular, productive, community building, healthy competition to blow off steam. Let's just keep thinking like that. It's important. Let's think bigger. Offering access to a feature of the school district that is already there, already built out. Not every community has what we already have, so we need to manage it properly. As far as no caveats, well, that would be determined by the board's lawyer.
Unfortunately, I happen to be one of the victims trying to get my kids inside the gate to play baseball. And matter of fact, I dropped off $1,000 over to the board yesterday so we can use the field. But I fought several years trying to get into the baseball field so the kids can play ball. And it's just a shame that we had to go through this when we're spending the time every day trying to get the kids off the street. Then the gates are locked. And it's just sad. And nobody cares about these kids. I'm sure everybody cares about these kids as much as I do, but I care so much for these children. I spend a lot of time with these kids, all the time. I give them, I feed them, I buy them clothes if they need them. I do whatever I can. But to go over there and the gates are locked, then you say, oh, I want the kids off the street, but you got the gates locked. Then the kids go around and cut a hole in the fence. I had to show that someone over there, they had a hole was cut in the fence so wide you could drive a car in it.
Huh.
Why make the kids cut a hole in the fence? Open the gates.
Thank you.
I clean the place up. Every game we have, I make sure the place is clean. Fertilize the field if
Okay.
necessary.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, these final 2 questions, candidates, you only have 30 seconds to respond. We wanted to get them in, but we're going over.
Matthew Sigmund, Real Estate resident, entrepreneur in town. I come from a different vantage point. I see a lot of the homes because I have a lot of tenants here. And one thing we're missing here, we have a huge Hispanic population, and there's no one here or anyone here representing their point of view and how we could improve our schools here and how their students react. Just my day job, I mean, anytime I have a rental in Neptune or Long Branch, my tenants want to run to them. They want to run to them. They want to get away. Oh, question. how do we solve these points that I'm going to bring up, these statements? So, you know, I think it's like the chicken or the egg, and how do we solve these issues of the demographics? Over the last 10, 15 years, enrollment's gone down. Who are the residents that are coming into Asbury Park? I mean, I think they're not bringing children in, and it's going to be more difficult to bring children in. And, you know, just, we have a lot of smart people in this room, and some people don't want to sell the schools. We can do a ground lease. We can take the sales money and put it in a 5% treasury bill and get money back. There's a lot of interesting financial options we can do with our land here to help benefit Asbury Park. Stop, I'm done. Okay.
Is there a question in there?
That's it. Where's the question?
Oh, okay, I'm not,
So my question is, with the demographics obviously going down with low enrollment, how are we going to manage the budget and the test scores? And, you know, how can we creatively, you know, help our students, but also manage the budget and also, you know, creatively work with these buildings and bring down everything else?
30 seconds, whoever wants to go. And then Bev's got the final question.
You're absolutely right about the demographics. People are not moving into Asbury Park with children. And do you want to know why? It's because affordability, number one, and the school district. They wouldn't be educated the way they would other places in the state or the country. We have got to stop this. We have got to get these kids back into the schools. We have to get people to come in with children. How are we going to do that? That's the big challenge. How do we get children back in here to go to our schools? I don't have an answer, but we know that this is one of the solutions
Okay,
if
thank
we
you.
can figure it out.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead,
So
30
I-
seconds.
Wow, 30 seconds. Okay, I'll talk fast. So I was one of those parents that didn't send their kid for elementary school to Asbury schools. I heard all the horror stories, quote unquote, and all these awful things. And I was even told by somebody who worked in one of the elementary schools, don't send your kid here. It's tantamount to child abuse. So my kid went to Deal School. But then when it came time for high school, we met with the teachers. We saw how much they cared about the kids, how talented they were, and now she goes to Asbury High School, and I hope that other people would consider it, because I'm telling you, they're in good hands. At least at the high school, I could be a witness to that they're in good hands. They've got great teachers and a great curriculum.
Thank you. Okay. Final question or anyone else? Final question goes to Bev.
Good evening. Thank you so much for taking the consideration and sharing your passion of your heart. My question is this. I understand that we have the dilemma with the budget, the money being spent improperly, but who is going to research the curriculum that's used to teach our children? I need to know that when I close my eyes, the generation coming behind me will know how to read, how to write, how to communicate, how to live with others. We are the examples. But I want to know, will you, as the intended board member, will you do research on the curriculum that's coming through our schools?
Thank you. 30 seconds. Who'd like to go first?
Great question. Thank you. I definitely will promise, if I'm elected on the board, I'll pursue it to the fullest. Thank you.
So, go ahead. No, you're spicy. Go for it.
Yes, I would love to change the trajectory of the curriculum. I would. I just don't know. I'm not, as a board member, as a non-board member, I wouldn't be speaking to it. But if that is within the confines of what a board member can do, then absolutely.
Honors Algebra, Honors ELA, Honors World History, Honors Environmental Science, Holocaust and Genocide Studies, Painting and Drawing, and Financial Literacy, something that some people on the administration should learn too. That's my daughter's freshman year curriculum. With the Holocaust and Genocide Studies, she gets college credit towards Rowan University. I think there's a big disconnect between what the stereotype is, at least in the high school, and what is the reality. Her teachers care about her. She's learning, she's thriving, and I'm proud of the curriculum. But yes, it's something that we can do and ameliorate on the other levels of education as well as a board member working in the curriculum committee.
Thank you. Okay, I think I'm going to, did you want to? Okay.
I'm probably the only person sitting up here that actually is trained as a teacher before I went to law school, and I've taught. I've also spent a lot of time studying how our brains work, how kids learn, and I will say again, we have some great teachers. They just need the resources and the time to do their jobs, and that's where we need to be focusing our money and focusing our spending. But I am committed to make sure that we employ the science of reading programs, the true tested ways of how we teach kids to read, what ways we teach kids to learn. Again, some kids don't learn in traditional ways. They do it through music and art and dance.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to closing statements, 1 minute, and we'll start with Will on that end and come all the way down.
First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. Thank you for inviting me. I learned a lot during this process, and I will utilize a lot of the information that I received tonight. And my mother told me down in Alabama that we were sitting on the porch, and she said, son, sometime you got to clean out the garage. And she bought a new car, opened up the garage door. It was filled with junk and trash, collecting dust. And when you shook it, it created dust. So in order to get the new car in, she said, you got to clean out the garage. Thank you.
That's good. Mine's a little darker. We find ourselves here, 6 individuals with unique perspectives but a common goal. You hold the power to reshape 1/3 of the board in this election. Perhaps some of you have voiced frustration in the past, wanting to cancel out the board and start fresh. Well, now is your chance to leverage the system in your favor. I choose to run because I refuse to accept the status quo. I have the time and the interest to work towards tangible solutions. Some individuals have had the audacity to suggest that as a non-educator or someone without children in the school, I'm not a natural fit. While I'm certain that may hold true in other districts, our distressed school system tells a different story. Poor test grades, a drop in enrollment, and a budget crisis, despite the fact that we bring in more revenue than most districts. We stand at the top of the state in terms of revenue and at the bottom of the state in terms of performance. It's unacceptable, unsustainable. Choose the 3 most qualified candidates for the job, and not merely because of personal connections.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, a lot of my points from my closing statement have been said by some of my esteemed group up here, but I'm going to say them again. So here's what I ask of you. What has the current board done in the last 3 to 6 years to move the district forward? If you are happy with what's going on, then leave it the way it is. We are spending $38,000 per student with little results. As you said, we can send every child to private school for that money. This madness has really got to stop. Your school taxes are already slated to go up, we discussed that already, for a big increase next year. If we want families to move back to our great, beautiful city, we must get a handle on this now. Let's show our children and families how much we want them to succeed, not by empty promises or excuses, but with action. Let's set these kids up for success so they can be proud of who they are and go into the real world with real life skills. Every child deserves a future, and it's never too late to start now. Vote number 6.
Thank you.
just want to say thank you again. If you want someone that's going to ask those tough questions when we're in certain spaces, who's going to speak up, who's not, who has ideas and able to get majority to help vote, or we come up with a solution, who can go out to the community, really touch these children, like really my neighbors, like I'm at barbershop, supermarket, wherever. You see me, you could stop, you could talk to me. Even parents, stop, talk to me. Teachers, stop, talk to me. You see me at ShopRite, stop, talk to me. Bounce ideas around, and I bring it back to the board, and we hold administrators accountable. Then I'm your man. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
I'm so proud to be running with Wendy and Anthony. Again, I think each of us brings something to the table in terms of leading the board in a new direction. We have Wendy, who has a tremendous financial brain, who will be able to take apart this our budget and really find the waste and cut it out. In terms of knowing how to navigate the board and the processes there, I've incredibly experienced. Also, there is some insight into having a child in the school district. I took that jump, that leap of faith that a lot of parents don't do, and I'm learning a lot because of it. And also with Remy, I say he's like the heart of the board because he cares so much about the kids. I'll say this, when we get elected, we're going to develop this multi-year strategic plan and sell the empty school properties and end the expensive leased offices and conduct an operational audit to identify and eliminate waste and advocate for more state funding and focus on literacy and the academic excellence of our kids. They're not junk and trash.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we all agree this is a critical period. The board must serve and protect our most vulnerable assets, our children and our community. The city's future depends on the decisions we make. I have the background for this effort. I've talked about having taught. I've worked with fiscal monitors, developed plans that change a stagnant culture, collaborated to define organizational vision and fiscal restraint in order to create a focused, lean, and effective organization with clear purpose and standards. I commit to do that. We do not need an external monitor to do this work. We ourselves can determine how to reduce our expenses and run an efficient organization. I will bring the courage to lead, to demand clear, unequivocal standards of performance and respect, bring rigorous strategic planning and budgeting, support our educators, and turn the financial challenges of school funding into opportunities to rethink our physical footprint, staffing, and costs. In a word, holding ourselves accountable and executing a quality educational program that we as a community may be proud of so our kids can believe that they have a real future, all at a cost acceptable to and supported by this community. That's right. With support, change can come.
Thank you. Okay. And thank you everyone else for coming. Thank you for the questions. Appreciate the participation.